In this video, we're going to be walking through how to build a set from scratch, from start to finish. The first step is going to be going over to the browser section of Ableton. And then under Places, right here to the left, you should find a folder that's called MH Ableton. This folder is where all of our songs, all of our loops are going to live. So we click on this folder, and under the subfolder All Loops is where you will find everything. All Loops, and then under Current Loops, which is all the songs that we're doing right now. We also have Old Loops, which are songs that we might not be doing anymore, but we may need again in the future. So we're going to expand Current Loops, and there's the loops that we need to find. So for this set, we have Fights For Me Now is our first song, Yet Not I, But Through Christ in Me is our second song, and then Fresh Wind is our third song. So we're going to put those in one by one. So we're going to start with Fights For Me Now. First thing you need to do is find Fights For Me Now in the Current Loops folder, and then click the arrow to expand the folder for Fights For Me Now. Then down below, you'll see the Fights For Me Now Ableton project. It's the one with this icon right here. You click it, drag it in, keep holding the mouse down until you see the little piece of paper icon come down under your mouse cursor, and then you can release. Now Ableton will put the song in. So there's everything that we need for that song. We have our markers, we have our tempo track, click track, guide track, and then all of our audio tracks. The next thing we need to do is we need to move all of our global tracks up to the top where they belong. So the way we do this is we click on the first track, and then we need to select all of our markers. So we're going to hold down Shift and click the very last marker as well. And then we can go down and click the last track that we want to select, which in this case is the guide track. So now all of our global tracks are selected, and we just drag those up to the top. All right, now our global tracks are at the top. Now we can delete these tracks that the global tracks came in on, because now we've moved them up to where they belong for the final set. So we can delete these tracks. We select the markers track, hold down Shift, and then select the last one, which is guide, and then just press delete on our keyboard. All right, the next step for this song is going to be to add a locator and a key command. So to do this, just like we learned in our previous video, we're going to click all the way to the left where we want to add the locator, hit our shortcut, which is !/key. That'll make our locator. We click on the arrow, press Command R to rename, and then we name it 1, since it's the first song of the set, dash Fights For Me Now dash G, because that's the original key that this song is in. Press Enter, and now we add a key command. So remember, to do that, we come up to the top right, we hit the key map button, we come over and click on the locator that we want to map, and then we hit the number on our keyboard that we want to map to that locator, which is the number 1. So we can see to the left that it added that mapping. Now we can get out of this key mapping window, and we have our locator built. The last thing we need to do for this song is add a looping click at the end. So again, to do this, we're going to extend the tempo track and the click track out past the end of these audio files. So we extend the tempo track out at least a bar past the last, the end of the tracks. Same thing for the click track, extend it out this way. Next step for a looping click is to make a locator where you want the looping click to start, which in this case is right here. We want to make sure we have a full bar after it for it to loop. So we click right here at bar 102, hit our add locator shortcut, !/, rename it with Command R. We'll name it Loop 1. All right, now we go into session view with the tab key or the vertical lines button over here. Scroll to the top where we see the repeat cues, and we'll select loop 1. Select it, Command C to copy it, go back over to arrangement view, click where we put our locator on the repeat cue track, and then Command V to paste. All right, now we're ready to map this MIDI command to this loop 1 locator. So we come up here and select our MIDI map function. We click on the locator that we want to map, and then we press spacebar to play and initiate the mapping. All right, we see over to the left that that worked. Let's get out of this menu and test it. All right, so that's working. So song 1 is done. We can collapse this folder here, so we don't need it we don't need access to the tracks right now. And now we'll move on to song 2. Song number 2 is Yet Not I, but Through Christ in Me. So same thing, we find it over in the browser section, we expand the folder, and then we drag the project in. Unfortunately, in Ableton, we can't choose where this drops in. We can't tell it to go to the right of the first song. We just have to drop it below all of the audio files for the first song, and it will drop them in at the beginning of the project. Now, the next step we need to do is we need to select all of these tracks, and we need to cut and paste them into a later part of the song. So I'm going to click on the first marker, hold down Shift, click on the last marker, and then click on the very last track that we want to cut, which is the very last audio track. We can press Command X to cut. Ableton sometimes has this glitch where it will, the timing will get messed up and it will leave some audio. So all we have to do now is select all of these audio files and hit delete. So now we need to paste the clips that we just cut, the entire song. So I'll just pick a bar later than the first song, so I'll choose 109. And on the very first track, which is going to be the markers track, we click on bar 109, and then we hit Command V to paste. So there's our song. That glitch that I just told you about, sometimes that'll cause the audio files to shorten at the end when you paste it, so we need to check that every single time we paste a song. We just select all of our audio files and try to drag them to the right. So yeah, these had gotten shortened. So now they're okay. Now we just continue with our process. We need to drag all of our master global tracks up. So we select the first marker, hold Shift, select the last marker, and then select the guide track, which is our last global track. Now we drag those up to the top, making sure we don't move them to the left or the right. Now they're up at the top. We can delete these tracks here that are empty. And now we continue on by creating a locator for this song. So I click at the beginning of the song, hit our shortcut for adding a locator, click on the arrow, Command R to rename to, because the second song, Yet Not I. You don't have to put the entire song title, especially because that's a long one. Space, dash, and then the key of the song. This one originally is in the key of C, so we'll type C, and then press Enter. Now we map a key command to it. So we hit our key mapping button up at the top right, click on the locator we want to map, and then hit the number on the keyboard that we want to map it to. So number 2. And that worked over here. So we're good to go. We can get out of this menu. And now we just need to add a looping click to the end of the track. So same process here that we've been doing. Drag our tempo track out at least a bar past. Drag our click track out to the same point. Create our locator with our shortcut. Rename it to loop 2. go over to Session View, copy our Loop 2 cue, go back to Arrangement View, and then paste it right where that locator is on the repeat cue track. And now we can map it. So we will click on our MIDI map button, click on the locator that we want to loop, and then press spacebar. If for some reason it doesn't pick up the MIDI mapping when you press spacebar, that's okay. Just click on the arrow again, or actually just click to the left of the loop cue, and then click on the arrow again and press spacebar and let it try to catch again, and it should. We can see over to the left that it did work. We have loop 2 mapped, so we can get out of this menu, and song number 2 is done. Let's move on to our final song, which is Fresh Wind. So we can close these tracks down because we don't need them right now. Go over to our browser, expand the Fresh Wind project folder, drag the Fresh Wind project into our project. Make sure you drag it below all of the other audio files that are already in. Okay, it dragged it to the beginning. So we need to select everything, cut, and paste it after our second song. So we select the first marker, select the last marker, and then select the last audio track. So everything is selected for Fresh Wind. Command X to cut. Make sure there's no residual audio files left over. Should be good. Zoom in down here, and we'll pick a bar to paste. So let's say 217. We click at 217 on our first track, which is the markers track, and then Command V to paste. All right, now we can move our global tracks up to the top. So we select our first marker, select our last marker, and then select the guide track, the last global track, and we move them all the way to the top, making sure not to move it left or right. Those are at the top. Now we can delete these empty tracks, selecting them and then pressing the delete key. Now we add our locator. So click at the beginning of the song, using our shortcut to add a locator. Click the arrow, Command R to rename 3, Fresh Wind, key of C. All right, now we key map that. So we hit our key map key button, select the locator, and then hit the computer key that we want to map it to. So number 3. We see to the left that that worked, so we can get out of this menu, and then we can create our final looping click. So again, same process, dragging the tempo track and the click track out at least a bar past, creating a locator where we want our looping click to begin, renaming to loop 3, go to Session View, copy the loop 3 cue, go back to Arrangement View, paste the loop 3 cue on the repeat cue track right where our locator is. Now we can MIDI map it, so we hit our MIDI map button, click on the arrow where our loop begins, and then hit the spacebar. And we can see over to the left that that did work. Now we can get out of this menu. And our entire set is built. Now all we need to do is we can change any keys that we want to change. We can enable or disable certain tracks. We can cut sections out. We can add sections. But this is the base set that you've just created for the week. So now you just want to make sure everything's working. You can just hit all your key commands, making sure that it takes you to the beginning of the songs. So that's all good. And then you would just want to check your looping clicks to make sure they're working. But other than that, you should be good to go.